Xyz monsters have been a mainstay of players' extra decks ever since they were first introduced in 2011. These black boarded cards can be summoned by overlaying 2 or more monsters of the same level as its materials, making for easy to access monsters with impactful effects. Some levels, however, are easier to access than others. And today, we'll get to some of the best of the worst levels to go into, which are the ranks 11 through 13 Xyz monsters. And at number 10, we have C1000 Numerounius. This rank 12 monster with question mark attack requires 5 level 12 monsters to be summoned. Once per turn as a quick effect, it can detach material to non-target destroy a card in the field. Also, at the end of the battle phase, it destroys all other monsters in the field, and summons an opponent's monster from the graveyard to your field in defense position. Lastly, if it were destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, it will summon number IC1000 Numerounius Numeronia from your extra deck. So, how exactly are you supposed to summon this guy? Sure, you could summon all of your Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons and your Divine Serpent Guest to make this guy with 5 level 12 monsters, but that's trading 5 monsters for 1, which will have 0 attack. No, what you're meant to do is activate Numeron Chaos Ritual after your number C1 Numeron Chaos Gate Sunya was destroyed that same turn. This would allow you to summon number C1000 Numerounius and attach all the Numeron gates to it as a material, at the same time as making Numerounius' attack 10,000. As you might have surmised by now, this card is not good. A decent chunk of this list are the least worst monsters that are rank 11 to 12, and we have to make some concessions. Numerounius is a gimmicky jank deck that aims to turbo out one of the monsters that best defines the big number good philosophy. Indeed, if number C1000 Numerounius is destroyed by an opponent's card, it will summon number IC1000 Numerounius Numeronia. This rank 13 monster features the highest number in any card text in the game, gaining 100,000 attack points as per its own effect. On top of that, if your opponent does not attack this gargantuan monster, as they probably won't if they intend not to take around 98,000 points of damage, you win the duel thanks to IC1000's effect. Yet, that is admittedly pretty cool, but also really bad. You need to have access to Numeron Network, sending Numeron Calling to bring out number C1 Numeron Chaos Gate Sunya. Then you need to destroy that Gate Sunya and then activate Numeron Chaos Ritual to bring out Numerounius. That's a lot of work to commit to a play that loses to a single SP Little Knight. Still, number C1000 Numerounius is iconic and unique enough, having seen sufficient casual play for it to barely sneak onto this list, even if you don't really want to summon him like ever. And at number 9, we have Raidraptor Rising Rebellion Falcon. This newest bird to take the place of Raidraptor's extra deck is a rank 13 monster that requires 5 level 13 Wing Beast monsters to summon. Once summoned, it destroys all cards your opponent controls. And if it has 3 more Raidraptor Xyz monsters as materials, it will burn your opponent for the same attack as the monsters it destroyed. It's also unaffected by other card effects, making it effectively impossible to remove. On top of all that, it can detach 3 materials to copy a Raidraptor Xyz monster's effect from your graveyard. Yeah, that's a lot of effects on a 4,000 attack body. And all for the low price of 5 level 13 Wing Beast monsters. Phantom Nightmare brought the Raidraptor deck a bunch of new toys, Rising Rebellion Falcon being the shiniest of them all. However, as there are currently no level 13 Wing Beast monsters in the game, you might need a bit of extra help. The also newly released Rise Rank Up Magic Raidraptor's Force is designed to summon this behemoth of a bird. The Raidraptor deck has never truly done much, only making a splash with Raidraptor Force tricks in certain Lunalight builds, to search either Blackwing Zephyros the Elite or Raidraptor Singing Lanius. Still, even if the deck has not been up to the standard decks nowadays needed to be cleared in order to be playable, it features some honestly extremely strong cards. Stuff like Raidraptor Nest being just a deck search or graveyard recursion, and Raidraptor Y-Strix just being completely an insane card. This brand new wave of support aims to bring the deck into the limelight, but with no results to speak of since the release of the OCG, we'll have to see if these blackbirds come to roost in our deck boxes. And at number 8, we have number 84 Pain Gainer. This rank 11 monster requires 2 level 11 monsters as its materials. Level 11 monsters are hard to come by, hence why this card comes with an alternative summoning method. As you'll see, the rest of this list's monsters have an alternative summoning method as well, since it would be extremely hard to summon them by ordinary means. In the case of Pain Gainer, you can overlay it on top of any rank 8, 9, or 10 Dark Xyz monster with 2 or more materials. What this gives you is a 0 attack, 0 defense monster, which gains 200 attack times the rank of all Xyz monsters you control. It being a rank 11 means that it'll have a 2200 attack body if it's the only one you control. But the card's main effect is that, whenever your opponent activates a spell or trap card effect, you get to inflict 600 damage to them. Furthermore, it has an effect which allows it to detach material to destroy all monsters your opponent controls with the defense lower than itself. While this card has a powerful effect, it has seen very little play in most decks. and what little play it has seen was as a way to get into our number 7 spot. And at number 7, we have number 77, the 7 Sins. I've chosen to bundle these two next to each other because they're almost always played together, and are designed to work with each other. The 7 Sins is a rank 12 monster that requires 2 level 12 monsters to summon, but can also be easily overlaid onto any dark rank 10 or 11 monster you control, locking you out of its main effect if you do summon it this way. The main effect being that, by detaching 2 materials from itself, you can banish all special summon monsters your opponent controls and attach one of them to it as a material. Furthermore, if 7 Sins were to be destroyed in any way, it can protect itself by detaching material instead. While these do see very sporadic play, they have found their place in people's extra decks in the past, and for good reason. The very short-lived Dark Matter Dragon Rulers deck made use of these two cards by overlaying on top of their namesake card, number 95, Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon. However, this deck existed for a very little time, meaning that this pair of spiders saw a drop-off in play. There was a time, nonetheless, where the rank 8 decks that existed had a bunch of free extra deck space, meaning these critters saw a bunch of play even if they're nowhere to be found nowadays. And at number 6, we have the former prize card, number 93, Utopia Kaiser. This rank 12 light warrior monster can't even be summoned by overlaying level 12 monsters, and can only be brought out by overlaying 2 or more number monsters with Xyz materials. It also has an effect where it can summon rank 9 or lower number monsters from your extra deck up to the number of materials Utopia Kaiser has with different names, and then detach material from itself. If this powerful effect resolves, however, you're locked out of special summoning for the rest of the turn, and halves all battle damage your opponent takes. Lastly, if you control another number monster, Utopia Kaiser cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. While it has a strong effect, being able to bring out a bunch of bodies for free, its downsides really bring the card down. Ordinarily, you'd be using up to 2 monsters to summon a hard-out body and a bunch of negated monsters you can't use for any summons, since Utopia Kaiser blocks you from summoning after you use its effect. Furthermore, this card was a YCS prize card, meaning it commanded a 1000 plus prize tag, making it well out of the reach for most players, certainly damaging what the card could realistically achieve. Konami has a tendency to import prize cards in Battle of Legends sets, and like they did with Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn and Light's Revenge, when Hero's Revenge came out, we saw the release of number 93 Utopia Kaiser as an affordable secret rare. On release, the card was disregarded as yet another bad prize card that players would forget in a week, like Ascension Dragon or Digvorzok, King of Heavy Industry. And while it took a little bit of time, players were not blind to the fact that a card released a bit earlier that same year in Dual Power made Utopia Kaiser into a floodgate combo enabler. Number 39 Utopia Double is a rank 4 light warrior monster requiring any 2 level 4 monsters to bring out. It can, as a quick effect, detach material from itself to search out a copy of Double or Nothing, and then special summon any Utopia monster from your extra deck on top of Utopia Double and then double its attack. Double or Nothing is a quick play spell designed to combo with the original number 39 Utopia, which if you negate your own attack, you'll be able to activate Double or Nothing to attack again for twice Utopia's attack. If brought out with Utopia Double, you'd be punching with a 10,000 attack number 39, making for an easy OTK in most circumstances. Utopia Double saw a little bit of play in some rank 4 strategies and in Sky Strikers of all things, to enable an easy way to close out games which the deck lacked. Players eventually realized that number 93 Utopia Kaiser was in fact a Utopia monster, so the need to use 2 number monsters to bring it out was now reduced to just 2 level 4 monsters. But Kaiser's effect was still not all that good, since you could not do much with the monster that it summoned. However, it just so happened that the Lunalight deck was able to do 3 very important things. 1. Summon a bunch of level 4 monsters to bring out Kaiser. 2. Be the most powerful engine in the format. 3. Summon the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. Bardiche was able to send the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak or the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots to the grave to then search out the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch, which would summon any monster on top of any XCs with no material. The combo was simple. You simply search out Rank Up Magic Launch, then summon Utopia Kaiser to bring out number 68 Sanafon the Sky Prison with 0 materials. Then, during your opponent's main phase, you would activate Rank Up Magic Launch to summon a DDD Duo Dawn King Kali Yuga, which would stop your opponent from resolving any effects on their field. While some other builds of Lunalights were more popular by virtue of being a lot more consistent and having access to more varied tools, it cannot be understated how demolishing it was to fully resolve this combo back in 2019. And at number 5, we have number 99 Utopia Dragonar. This rank 12 light warrior with 3000 attack and defense requires 3 or more level 12 monsters, and features a suite of powerful effects. As a quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from itself to summon a number monster between numbers 1 and 100 straight from your extra deck, while locking into only summoning Xyz monsters from your extra deck this turn. Also, whenever your opponent declares an attack, you can make the attack of their monster become 0. It doesn't take long to realize just how strong of an effect this is, and how hard it is to get 3 level 12 monsters on board. Fear not, for the Utopias have you covered in that regard and have anything but an issue in bringing out this Xyz behemoth. You might remember how we talked about using number 39 Utopia Double to bring out number 39 Utopia Kaiser. Well, guess what? Number 99 Utopia Dragonar is also a Utopia monster. This means that the deck has an incredibly easy time accessing this amazing enabler. However, what you'll be using to summon Dragonar more often than not will be Hyper Rank Up Magic Utopia Force. This mouthful of a card is easily searchable from the deck, mainly using ZS Ascended Sage, and sets up with a 4 material Dragonar by using the aforementioned Utopia Double. What this means is that you can easily bring out Utopia's best rank 5 monster, Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. Also, since Dragonar was summoned with 4 materials, you can use this effect again in your opponent's turn to bring out something like number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy for an extra spell negate. What this means is that Yuma's old crappy anime deck can now end on a bunch of negates and a huge protected body, which is quite a setup from number 39 Utopia Pass. And at number 4, we have Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus. This Sentai-inspired big baddie is a rank 12 light machine with 3600 attack and 3200 defense, which requires 3 level 12 monsters to summon, and has a bunch of powerful effects. For starters, if it gets sent to the graveyard by any means, you can special summon 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast monsters from your graveyard. Its second effect, however, is where the real power comes from. Based on the number of Xyz materials Magnus has, it gains additional effects. If it has 2 or more materials, you can, as a quick effect, detach an Xyz material to non-target shuffle a card in the field to the deck. If it has 4 or more materials, it's unaffected by any and all card effects that are not part of the Super Quant archetype. Lastly, if it has 6 or more materials, your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to the hand by card effects. And while that's a lot of text, what does this all actually mean? For starters, if you summon Great Magnus by its archetype's intended method, which we'll cover later, you end up with a massive unaffected monster which floodgates your opponent and has the best removal in the game as a quick effect. So yeah, suffice to say, it's a strong card. But how do you make it have more than 3 materials when its requirements are 3 level 12s? Well, you use the extremely strong field spell Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier. Magna Carrier can not only bring out the Super Quantal Mech Beast necessary to summon Magnus, it also can send itself to the graveyard to target 3 Mech Beasts on your field or graveyard and use them as their materials for the summon of a Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus. If done properly, you should end up with at least a 6 material Magnus, which should win you the game most of the time by itself. All of this sounds amazing. So how relevant is the deck? Well, not really at all. But while the deck has had almost 0 success, Great Magnus remains a fan favorite of many players, since it is one of the coolest win conditions a deck could have, and a really strong one at that. And at number 3, we have Superdreadnought Railcannon Juggernaut Liebe. This rank 11 Earth Machine monster requires 3 level 11 monsters to be summoned, but it can also be summoned straight on top of any rank 10 machine monster you control, usually Superdreadnought Railcannon Gustav Max. It has an effect where once per turn you can detach material from itself to gain 2000 attack and defense, but you can only declare attacks with it for the rest of the turn. Lastly, it can attack monsters up to the number of materials it has plus 1. This big guy is the finisher for the widely beloved rank 10 Trains theme, making for an explosive finisher for this Earth Machine theme. This deck had an interesting evolution ever since its inception in the Vrains era with Night Express Knight. The deck saw a lot of changes throughout the years, spawning the famous Earth Machine deck in its path, a much more successful variant making wide use of the infinite track cards for more varied plays. What these strategies had in common was the presence of the rank 10 Train engine, with Juggernaut Liebe being the big finisher which closed games like nobody's business. However, the deck which saw the most success with this card was as far removed from either the aforementioned decks as you could go, Eldritch. Indeed, while Eldritch had an unparalleled grind game with never-ending resources, it sometimes lacked that big, damaging push that could put an end to the game after you cycle through your Eldritch traps. And as luck would have it, Eldritch the Golden Lord is a level 10 monster with a very easy summoning condition. Getting 2 of them on the field would allow you to go into Superdreadnought Railcannon Gustav Max, dealing 2000 points of damage, and then summoning Superdreadnought Railcannon Juggernaut Liebe, finishing the game for a swift OTK. And at number 2, we have a very new card, Super Starslayer TY-PHON Sky Crisis. This is a rank 12 Dark Machine monster with 2900 attack and defense. It also boasts one of the easiest summon conditions of probably any Xyz monster. You see, if your opponent special summons 2 or more monsters from the extract during the current or the last turn, you can just summon TY-PHON on top of the monster you control with the highest attack. This easy summoning method comes with a downside, however, making it so you cannot summon any more monsters for the rest of this turn after it hits the board. Even with that negative effect, while it's on the field, it prevents either player from activating the effects of monsters that have 3000 or more attack, effectively stopping most combo boards by itself, since a card like Baronne de Fleur becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while the Xyz monster remains on the field. If that wasn't enough, TY-PHON also has an effect where you can detach material from itself in order to return a monster from the field to the hand. Mind you, this effect is non-targeting, meaning you can remove hard-to-out boss monsters like Borderland Dragon. Since this card's announcement, most players thought it was good, but not worth the downside. Originally, players thought it would be played in slower control decks like Labyrinth or Runic. However, the card's seen play in pretty much any and all decks since its release. Turns out, you don't really care about being locked into something for the rest of the turn if TY-PHON allows you to clear the last card your opponent has left on board and keep a floodgate on top of that. Doesn't matter what playstyle your deck has, it most certainly benefits from having Starslayer TY-PHON in its extra deck. Unchained, Infernal Knights, Purely, Tearlaments, Rescue Waste, and even Vanadium make use of this powerhouse Xyz monster, and for good reason. And to pretty much no one's surprise, the number one best rank 11 to 13 monster of all time, of course, is Divine Arsenal AA-Zeus Sky Thunder. This rank 12 light machine monster with 3000 attack and defense is the light counterpart to the last card we saw. Zeus has a very easy alternative summon condition, where you can overlay it onto any Xyz monster you control if any Xyz monster has battled that turn. Also, once per turn, if another card you control was destroyed, Zeus could attach any card from your hand, deck, or X deck to itself as an Xyz material. Most importantly though, is Zeus's main effect. By detaching 2 Xyz materials from itself, you can send all other cards in both players' fields to the graveyard, and this is not a once per turn effect. If you got this far into the video, you were probably at least somewhat familiar with this powerhouse of an Xyz monster. From the moment it was released in Phantom Rage, Zeus has been a constant presence format after format. And for good reason. If your deck plays Xyz monsters, it's very hard to argue against playing this card. Indeed, Zeus made it so that decks that didn't play any monsters of this kind started running some just to allocate for an easy-to-access board wipe. Cards like Luralisk Assembled Nightingale and number 49 Fortune Tune quickly found their way into players' extra decks in order to get an extra attack through so that you could summon a Zeus on top of them to clear the field. The Divine Arsenal was so strong, in fact, that it birthed new decks just by existing. While Zodiac was a decent engine at the time, it quickly became clear that it was by far the best Zeus enabler, both as an engine and as a pure deck. The fact that you could summon any Zodiac monster, overlay onto Zodiac Borbo, attack directly, and just bring out all of your Zodiac extra monsters on top of it, ending on an 8 material Zeus was just extremely powerful. This catapulted the deck into the forefront of the format, since it had the ability to play a lot of generic hand traps and floodgates. Not only that, but any deck that could make room for Zodiac Barrage and Zodiac Thoroughblade could make use of the engine, meaning that pretty much all the decks in the format were able to just bring out a huge Zeus whenever they wanted with minimal investment. But when the Zodiacs left, Zeus did not. Ever since then, most, if not all decks have been playing this rank 12 monster as an easy-to-access blowout that can turn games around by itself. I mean, Zeus made players start summoning Baguska in attack position, which speaks volume to the impact the card had. So every time you play a deck with Xyz monsters in them, remember to include the best rank 11 to 13 monster of all time. Alright, and that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any ideas on cards we should rank next, leave them in the comments, and until next time, see you later.